Buy, deliver with the two-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester, Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasing the Racing.
3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasing the Racing, episode 85, the first podcast that we're recording in 2021, and we're joined by the mysterious. Yeah, I'm just kidding. We're just having a laugh.
I love it how you're halfway through a compliment there and just totally went. Sorry, I'm just kidding. Let's go back to the real show here. My God.
Welcome to Zoe Burn from UK Club Sport, and we were just having a laugh there before.
I was about to say, could you explain the situation? Because that was the biggest inside joke that people will be sitting down or driving their cars going, what the fuck are they on about this time, innit?
Because we're just reminiscing on like old episodes that we've
because that's what we're doing. We just reminisce about old episodes
before we got started. And
I found out I used to be funny, which is saying something because I've never ever been funny. So
when we first started the podcast, we used to do Marshal of the Pod. And one of the first episodes that we had Tabby Toe from we got in touch on Twitter, and we're just laughing because Tom introduces Tabby as the sort of welcome to the podcast, the mysterious yet seductive Tabby, and there's literally nothing seductive about the interview whatsoever. So just laughing.
That was our interviewing style, wasn't it? There you go. Far from anything seductive that came out of our words.
But anyway,
I'm literally reading your magazine here. Sorry, you just carry on talking amongst yourself, children.
He's already gone straight at the back to the Mubo ad.
Honestly, I'm not being funny, but that is a selling point right there. Them legs gone all the way to base camp, don't they? They're just
Now,
seriously, talk about now. Then back to reality here. There you are. That is not reality, Chris.
So with the mag, obviously usually it's
buy the magazine. See what I'm perving on.
It's usually a monthly magazine, and so you missed November's edition, but then you've basically doubled up in December, and I thoroughly enjoy. I do genuinely really enjoy when the mag drops through the door, just catching up on the news, and I think that's probably been your best episode. Your best. What do you call it?
Cracks the mat edition. Issue or edition.
Yeah, I do think that's been the best edition so far, and really, really good crack. How have you found doing a sort of doubler?
I actually, because we there was two reasons we did it. One was for cost, because as you know, that's very nice. And if you turn to the back page, you'll see the arse that Dom's always banging on about. Sorry, the second about that one. One was to save a bit of money because we've got no advertisers for this one because of the situation, and two was just. There's no racing, so we thought, why don't we save a little bit of money? Because it was costing us, it would have actually cost us to physically put out, and there's only so much you can do with that, really, isn't there? You can't just keep spending money. So we'll just do bi-monthly, like over the winter. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we'll be back to doing monthly in March. Although I much prefer the bigger one over 2 months because it gives us longer to get stuff.
Bigger and longer, every two woman's favourite two words. There we go.
And harder to do, yes. So
number 3. I like it. I like Zoe. You know why? Because quite frankly, Chrissy, you and me, I think our relationship's coming to an end. We have no more chemistry, no more crack to bounce off. They are bringing a random woman in the middle of Burnup Field and talk about some sexual innuendos. And I love this show.
I don't, because I think we might be getting snowed in tonight, and I might be stuck in here with this scary man.
Why are you smiling like a rapist? You're like, way!
I know this is actually the snowiest it's been when we've done a podcast.
Brilliant.
We did actually struggle to get the studio to the house.
My car was stolen by Dom, and I don't know where it is.
And speaking of where, I don't know where your legs have gone either. Like, honestly, you drive like a dwarf woman.
I'm 5 foot and 3/4 of an inch. Tell you what.
Got where you were lumpers about pinched a Honda and way.
Now, are we okay to talk about some of the stories in the pod, in the mag? I don't want to be giving
out
away
a week
stories.
or so now. So
pick a subject.
The headline story, which is the front cover one. Mm-hmm. It was a very touching story of the lad that won the Super Teens this year, and the headline is this one's for you, Dad, and a real sort of tragic story about his dad losing his dad a while ago to cancer, and basically his dad's mate on his deathbed, agreed to look after his son, and he's got him into motorbikes, and he's ended up winning the Super Teens. So it's a proper.
It's one of those 4 pages long. It's actually you're getting the full story here, aren't you?
It's one of those stories that really sort of touches at your heartstring. Yeah. I'm not very emotional. I was tearing up reading it.
I see. It means I've done a decent job. Well, this kid Joe, I mean, we were asked to write about him. Someone mentioned him to us earlier in the year, and I was going to write about him then. And, sometimes it just doesn't happen, and you end up doing something else. And the next thing we know is he's won Super Teens. Like, excellent, this is a great chance to write about him. So I had a long chat with Brian, who was sort of the main focus in the story, who has kind of... he was his dad's best friend, and his dad died, when he was...
It's a thing of movies, isn't it?
It is.
It is a thing of movies. How deep was the field this year as well?
I haven't really followed it. You'll obviously have followed it. Cause...
I followed it, but I haven't followed everything as we would normally would, because it's all been such a half kind of championship, But it was deep because, the kids are kind of coming in and out from all over. This year was, or last year, last year, it was all a bit of a mix and match, Everyone just wanted to get on a grid somewhere, didn't they?
See, Super Teens, though, isn't that the thing that all you and all the other riders talk about? You won Super Teens, so that was actually a Thundersport thing, or are you thinking... What did you do? BSB? Was that BSB, that?
No, it's a Thundersport.
He raced with Valentine. The first time I ever met Chrissy, it was Thundersport on the MotoGP.
That's right, yeah, in 2009.
So that was the same championship that you've won?
Ish.
It used to be the Aprilia Super Teens, which was everyone was on Aprilia RS125.
Yeah, but the two-stroke dynasty. And...
The year that I sort of started it, there was proper pack grids. The first round that I did, you had to qualify for the main race. There was a B race. There was that many. Yeah. And me and Tara McKenzie were in the B race.
It was kind of in that. I mean, I wasn't an expert on club racing so much then, but that was the place where you went, wasn't it? Now you've got so many junior championships all over the place, whereas it was Super Teens or bust, wasn't it? There wasn't. You didn't have a junior here at Team Green.
Now when basically after because it was Ian Newton that ran the official Aprilia Super Teens. It used to be ran at Bempsey years ago, and then when Dave Stewart
still going.
No,
the year before. No, because it was a Derby Phoenix. How many clubs have disappeared? I think you did an article on it with the clubs.
Yeah, Derby Phoenix. Do you remember Hot Tracks? People always forget Hot Tracks. Hot Tracks was the shit for my friend.
Was that better than Thundersport at the time, or was?
No, but they spent a lot of money. Did Hot Tracks?
Basically, Dave Stewart broke away from Bempsey and set up Thundersport GB, and it was kind of supposed to be a bridge between sort of club racing and BSB, which is kind of where it fitted in.
It still does, really.
They sort of televised
100%
the race and try to make it a bit more professional than club racing, but not quite. Like a sort of stepping stone to BSB. And when Dave Stewart set up the Thundersport with Sid, do you know Steve Day? Steve Day's dad. So Sid went in partnerships with...
Do you not know Sid? You're looking black. You'll know Sid.
Orange
Crocs.
I feel like Gavin and Stacey when they kind of like to... Anyway,
he does the podium at Thundersport. He's the guy.
Steve Day, who commentates on MotoGP.
Well, it's not him.
It's his dad.
Anyway, it's his dad. Right.
So they set up Thundersport GB, and
get the podium.
And Ian Newton took the Aprilia, the sort of official Aprilia Super Teens to Thundersport, but there was also another sort of Super Teens at Bempsey as well. So when I was coming through, there was kind of two Super Teen championships. There was the main Aprilia Super Teen championship, which Ian Newton ran, and there was also Bempsey, which was another championship. There was still 30 riders on that grid, but it was a different championship. And then Ian Newton doesn't have anything to do with it now, does he? I think he sort of retired it when the Aprilias phased out.
Only recently though. I'm sure he was still involved.
He was still supplying
3 or 4 years, or even less 3 years ago, with the Aprilia side of things. But I don't think he's got any.
But they've introduced you can run Kawasaki, all the other manufacturers, and is it restricted 400s or something, or 250s?
Yes,
that's what.
Oh, Dom's come to life.
No, that's who.
It's going to be
over. She writes a column. Give me a name.
Lizzie. She's going to be annoyed if you've forgotten her name.
Oh, no, I just forget everyone's name. I know she'll be... Well, she doesn't listen to this anyway, so it's fine.
She doesn't like you.
Lizzie, no, who does? Let's face it, it's such a narrow window. Even my mother doesn't like us. But anyway, back to that. So is that the same class that Lizzie's doing?
She has done a few this year.
But that's at the British level you're talking about?
No.
Just Super Teens at Thundersport.
So what...
We've only got one British rider amongst us.
Right, no, fair enough. Hold on. So what is it? Hold on, Lizzie, which class is she in then?
Lizzie was doing... She did do
By the way,
some...
Lizzie writes a column for Zoe in UK Club Sport as well, so people who aren't up to scratch on that one, so carry on. So what does she do?
She rides a motorbike.
Right.
She did and because again, this year, nobody really did what they said they were going to do this year. I think Lizzie was just going to do the full NG season in the junior class, wasn't it? Yeah. But she ended up doing, because there was only 2 NG rounds, I believe, in the end. So she ended up coming in. So she did do some super teens. But she didn't do like a full season and try and win that title.
No, I'm trying to put the class together because I've seen Lizzie like race bikes and you think she can ride. But when you look at your magazine here, going back to the Lado, but the style of the lad,
he's got an incredible style, hasn't
honestly,
he?
if that's just like, is this? Okay, well, without reading it, let's get the bullet points on this lad. Did he do anything prior to this in motorsport? Do you know?
I'm trying to remember. I only wrote it like 6 weeks ago.
I was about to say, because
he hadn't been racing long.
Because that lad...
Was he a rookie at the start of the year?
2019, I think it was.
I feel sorry for our listeners here, but you've got like a Marquez style over the chest, over the front on YouTube. I'm just displaying,
and I like the
displaying it, but what a style.
I like the fact he's got the same lid as me. I've got the blue hat. It's my finest favourite lid in the world.
Is that a replica?
Is that a brand?
It's RI. It was their initial, the HA.
Right.
And it was their retro. I've got one. I've got the blue one.
Is that actually an RI product then? That's terrible, that. We're sponsored by RI and we don't even know.
Yes, it is.
That's a hell of a style lid. Proper retro, that. And sorry, RI. But, please sponsor us again.
What's the crack now with... So
you're just turning the page to Johnny Towers there of couldn't get anything.
Love you, Johnny, by the way. RST, RI, all good. Thank you. Zoe, the girls in the office.
Once you move on from super teens, once you move on from super teens, what's the sort of paths? So, like for example, years ago, it used to be you finish super teens and you could either go do the 450s or like what Jake Dixon did, or you could go to BSB and do GP125.
They're just going straight up now. They're going up to the Junior Super Sport.
On the 400s.
Some of them will have a crack at the British Talent Cup. I don't know, but I'm not here to discuss that. I don't know what that future is for that when you look at what Junior Super Sport's doing. And now we're seeing British Talent Cup riders going to Junior Super Sport next year, which I find a bit weird. But
as in stepping up from the British Talent Cup to Junior Super Sport.
I look at that as a step back personally, but I don't know whether or not that's
it's a bigger
the right
bike.
thing to say it is.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But it's a bigger it's a bigger grid, isn't it now? So maybe it's...
And I think it must be cheaper, I presume, as well.
I'll tell you what is an interesting fact about like changing bikes and everything. More the super sport class have gone into this GP2, this year. But when you looked at the grid, for me, I really enjoyed that grid solely because it was total different types of it. Aye, but the GP2 element of it, like Kyle Ride the year before dominated, and it was a bit like, to be honest, it really did elevate them. But same, Alistair Seeley's been through that class as well, and the bikes have got the capability of it. But the slicks, the engineering, the upside down swinging arms. I think as far as BSB's concerned, there's no development class. To me, in my opinion, like yes, every class is development class. Yes, the superbike has always got to constantly evolve, and you can make little things, alterations. But GP2 classes, they're essentially made in a shed, really.
Yeah, they are.
There's no like
it is proper engineering, but
it's fantastic.
The thing that sort of
what rules?
It's very questionable for me is when you look at the say super sport grid and you're watching the race, which is usually the Appleyard bike scaling. Sometimes it's up the front. The GP2 race is totally it's very difficult to follow a race within a race, and so nobody's watching that and watching for like the 10th rider to go past and think, they're winning the GP2 race. To be quite honest, unless you're in the GP2 class, nobody really cares.
No, but that's the thing.
It's always the same when you've got a class within a class within a class or anything. And I've just looked at black pen on my hands, and if that's all over my face and you guys are telling me...
It's all over.
Another thing
but hold on, let's go back a point. We're talking about like the Kyle Ride and the Alistair Seeley days. That for me really sparked it. Because like you've got two lads on essentially bespoke, proper motorsport bikes, and you had talent on that, being able to push skilled riders, and they were battling for wins at that point. But like you say, yes, in theory, I know exactly what you're saying. You watch the telly and go, he crossed the line. You don't unless you follow that.
But really, perfectly. Like Kyle
proved, very Italian at the minute.
Kyle proved that bike should really be battling at the front. The
Exactly.
not that much in terms of horsepower. They're slightly less because the standard engines.
There were Hondas, weren't there? They're Triumphs now.
They're on slicks, and like you say, they're bespoke racing bikes. They should, and in terms of money as well. This is what I was going to get at. If you look at the super sport class, you look at, let's take Brad Peri Chicken, right? He's on a 2008.
See how I had like
R6
Perry Hot or something. Yeah.
He's on a real old stock bike, right? Which you could very, very cheap to build yourself. And he's racing against people on these like 50, 60 grand proper GP2 bikes. And he's 30 seconds ahead of them at the end of the race. Why on earth would you take a standard R6 with a road going R6, spend like an absolute fortune making I know if you're into like the engineering side, that's great, but in terms of if you were a rider, right, would you buy say Brad Perry's bike this year, you could probably buy that for what, like 12 grand, 15 grand, or would you buy a GP2 bike, like an ex Grand Prix GP2 bike for 50 grand and be nowhere? It's like, unless you're interested in the engineering fact of it.
So you think about all these lads, not many of them are on their bikes. Bradley was a fantastic phenomenon this year in the Supersport.
Harry Truelove.
He's desperate for you to come on the show, Bradley. He's desperate to get you on the show.
No, but hold on. I'm going back I'm going back here. Like, we're talking about people chucking money at it. A lot of these people who chuck money at it, like Brad, that whole family situation, yes, everyone in the paddock is like that. But when someone gets offered a free ride, now, if I was I'm eccentric, but I'm not a millionaire, and if I wanted to buy a motorcycle to see on the grid, I would buy a GP2 bike any day of the week. You know, bespoke engineering, everything's a little bit different. It's a little bit out there, and quite frankly, they hold their money more. You know, it's an investment.
Totally disagree, because if they change the rules, they're worthless.
I just don't think it's
it's collector pieces. Like when you talk about reselling items, you know what I mean? Like an old R6
that happened with the GP1 with the BSB. As soon as the BSB 125s that are capable of winning with like a sealed kit in were like 50 grand, and then Stuart Higgs changed the rules. That bike is worthless. Nobody
we're talking about nostalgia. You know what I mean? Who wants a fizzy to go racing an R1 again?
Yeah, but how many millionaires are sitting around now? Let's just buy a bike.
I'm talking about people who you can. As far as the sponsorship, you know, when Brent was talking about sponsorship.
Here's a question for you then. Who finished second in Mo2 GP2 class this year?
But you see, I'm not. Look, I'm interested.
Nobody knows because nobody really watches it.
I'm looking at the bike, the engineering. I actually like as far obviously I've built my own race bikes with my dad and everything. My dad's come from a classic. My granddad built race bikes, so that's more of a personal side of it. But as far as if I was going to sell an item, a development bike, especially with classics, are constantly altering frame, changing this, changing that. It's bespoke, and people think that's a little bit different. It's like those bikes that have got twin swinging arm holding, I think Haslam or one of them tested one of those bikes with the dodgy swinging arms sticking out the frames, and it was just like, that is a total bit of history, really. And I think, as far as this is, now we're going from my own opinion. I'm having a full-on rant at you here. This is fantastic.
This is what happens, Chris. You never start riding classics, because this is what happens if you start riding classics.
No, but like Anthony Ambler, you know, him and his brother build like all the silicons, like engineering tanks, and as far as engineering's concerned, it's brilliant. Changing with chassis like angles, pitch, fork, trail, the lot. When you look at something like that, if I was going to invest my money, and if I was passionate about not necessarily the racing, but my motorcycles, I would be more likely to chuck money at a bespoke bit of kit. That is my opinion on that situation. Like, you got people who love, like Teapot One. I don't think he'd give a flying fuck if it won or came last. But I think you'd look at that. I mean, big Viking, scary fucker. But I think you'd go, that is a little bit different.
Okay, so I would agree with that. If there was a GP2 race, and if there was another super sport race, and it was totally separate, so the winner won the GP2 race and was like leading the race and things, and it was like, which one would you prefer to do? I'm totally with you. I would say definitely, I would prefer, if the choice was just, would you rather ride a bespoke bike or a standard like stock super sport bike? Totally with you on that. But my point is, they're spending like twice the amount or 3 times the amount to be nowhere, and to be like nowhere, not in the media, not on the front of the TV. You're not getting the
coverage, you're not getting the PR, you're not getting your sponsors.
But it must be a nightmare for like, if you snap a chassis or something, they're like proper like bespoke chassis, the one off the cost of fortune to race.
That's the exciting side of it. And like, don't get me wrong, the grid is full of every weekend, without a doubt, you are extremely lucky to have a race with 10 winners in it. You know, when a race starts. I'm talking proper MotoGP from this year. The front 2 rows were in it to win it. Everyone else knows where they sit, and they still go to be a part of it to try and beat their own goals. And that's the same with engineering on that side of things. If I was talking about, like, in my particular side of it, is a team owner and had money, I'd rather took me money at that. From my point of view, not racing's point of view. That's my point of view. You know,
there's a lot of people that are totally in your boat and they're doing this. They're spending. But to me, when I look at them and they'll
if they want to win races,
it's a bit of a fanatics thing, isn't it?
If
you know what I mean.
But like you say, to win a championship, I'm 100% with him. Why go buy? You wouldn't buy a GP2 bike to go win. You have to go win. You have to chuck a serious pile of coin in it, and you've got something that isn't fucked with, isn't played with to try and get right. Like you said, you can go buy an R6. Off you go and ride the wheels off it and run. Like, I totally agree with you. I feel like we should hug. Like, it's all right, son.
to me, in terms of development talent and in terms of fairness and just good close racing, I think the more stock-based championships are fabulous. So, like, for example, Moto3 a few years ago, to have any sort of chance of winning, you had to be on a 50, 60,000 pound motorcycle. So you've got somebody who's won the Super Teens, coming up, real talent, but hasn't got loads of money, and they're nowhere. To me, that's no good. Stuart Higgs have changed the rules so that it's now the British Talent Cup. It's like a stock bike, so everyone's on relatively the same equipment. Obviously, there'll be a little bit, like, one will be a little bit faster than the other, but not much more even than it was. And the spectacle to watch is loads better. It's much fairer. It's just much better. So it's, for me, I understand if you were wanting to engineer things, and, like, for example, if you were a brilliant engine builder and you wanted to strip it and tune it up and spend a load of money.
It's a labour of love, isn't it? It's that sort of it's not just buying an R6 and hopping on it.
That's where Formula One is. I'm not interested in it because the lad that's never ever got a point and has been nowhere jumps in the best car and he's on pole. What on earth is the point in watching that? It's not interesting.
But that's the only time it gets excitement is when that happens. See?
How good would Formula One be if they were all on relatively similar equipment and nobody knew who was going to win every weekend and they were all killing each other for the podium? That just proves that it's like racing. If the person with the best car or the best bike always wins, to me it's pointless watching.
Yeah. And that's the end of today's podcast. I don't think there's much. Dom's actually been stunned into some silence.
You got, like, that's the thing, isn't it? That's the evolution of motorcycle racing, isn't it? Someone builds something better than the other person, and that drags the person on again. How have they done that? Let's build a better bike. Every year there's a different bike on the top, isn't there?
I tell you
Stock 1,000, like 600s. Well, not anymore because they don't build them anymore. But superbikes, Ducatis. everyone goes buy a Ducati. Have to get a Ducati.
Speaking of Ducatis,
the only bike that
bring up my subject yet, or we're going to come back.
Well, can I just quickly jump in with something, because it sort of links to what we're talking about, right? And
this episode's called bitching.
I was just looking.
And it's only the start of January.
It's going to be the rant.
And just die, Chrissy. This
lockdown's really getting to us, isn't it? Anyway, what I was thinking is how amazing, right?
Get a real tight run.
How amazing this is, right? I need to get these dates right. I think it was 1997. The lap record of Donington Grand Prix, Mick Doohan, right, was a 1:32.8.
Were you born then?
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, just born, right? Where would that lap time have qualified during stock 1,000 last year, in 2019?
What was his time?
32.8.
Speaking of Kev again.
This is Mick Doohan. So this is the lap record for MotoGP, right? It was 23rd in stock 1,000. What I'm trying to explain, how amazing, right? If in this time gap, imagine. Back then, that was the best money could buy with lap time, right? Now you can go in and you could buy a second hand, like stock 1,000 bike for like $8,000 and do the
same lap time, so but faster as well. Yeah.
So imagine in another, whatever year's time,
it's going to be Tron.
The electric bikes.
Imagine like another 20 years.
Is this the bit you're going to bring up?
No, I was going to bring up everyone going to try options, but that's, you see, we're all on.
No, but we're still on that subject in a roundabout way.
Imagine in a 20 odd years' time if anybody could just buy a bike that could lap Donington as fast as like Marquez.
I hope that you can, and I hope that we're still racing, and I hope we can get you two on like two old men. It'll be like something something off Back to the Future, wouldn't it? The old Biff with his stick, you and Dom.
That's a mental... Like,
Dom will have 3 fingers and...
I know. Sell another one. But no, that's the thing. That's what we're talking about. We're going in this like paradoxical situation of like it constantly evolves.
Yeah.
And the only reason people go racing, like they want to go by... Like racing started to sell motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what you're saying. Just
that's what I'm saying. So, do you know when you're saying about the engineering side always coming on? That's how much it's come on. That for like less than 10 grand, you can now buy a bike that's like 20 odd years ago was the best money could buy. Like that bike with Mick Doohan's was probably worth in today's money £1 million, and now you can buy something which laps as fast. I know tyres have come on loads, and I know, to be fair, they've opened up fog yeses a little bit. So
it's never going to be the same.
I'm just making the point of how amazing. Like now, for say 10 grand, you can buy an absolute weapon of a motorcycle.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Dad had said to you,
exactly what he's getting at. Oh. Exactly what he's getting at. If Mick Doohan's listening to this, please enter Stock 1000 next year, right? Let's see what these young whippersnappers are up to these days. Go on.
Can you imagine in the doors where you and your dad and Katie were boxing in the front room and all of that? If your dad and you said, I want to race motorbikes, and your dad says, hey, by the time you're 20, whatever, son, you're going to be faster than what you wouldn't have believed it, would you? You'd be doing a faster lap than that in 2020. You'd have been like, not a chance, Dad, are we? What are you talking about?
Like I was looking through the lap times, and even not that long ago, like in 2000, when Rossi was in MotoGP, then the lap times weren't that impressive in today's times.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is like unreal how much things are coming on, and every single year. Sometimes when a new bike comes out and you look at it and you just think, how does it get better than that? Every year it's up. Like this year, Kawasaki won the World Superbike Championship, and you think, how can they do better than that?
Put two buckets on the front.
Yeah, and then it's all, it's went from sort of engine development, and obviously they have developed the engine a little bit, but then they're thinking about aero, and over the next few years, that's probably going to get more and more, and that all comes from MotoGP, which is like what you're saying, where it's a proper engineering class. Yeah. It's the same with ABS in cars. That came from rallying, and then it's been passed down, and now everyone's got a safer car.
What are you pointing at me for?
I'm trying to remember how we got into this argument. I can't remember. He's
do you know, these two have been having little digs at each other since 6 o'clock tonight.
Oh, they've
been picking at each other in the kitchen. I think maybe you're seeing a little too much. You need to have a little bit. You need to go on a break.
No, I think it's living together in these damn COVID lockdown times. But it's this boxing match. I think. He's laughing because he's cocky. I think this is definitely happening. If you please, but it's like a charity appeal now. Please,
it's Glenn,
please put this.
Please do.
I'll beat you up in the first 2 rounds and move on to Glenn. I tell you what, I think you live in Burnhamfield. I bet you're a right handy little twat. I think you.
Have you seen some of his friends?
You ever seen like a really dodgier version of Brad Pitt in Snatch? I think this is like Chrissy Rouse. You know what I mean? Have you ever seen Snatch?
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Have you ever seen Snatch?
Yeah,
see, that's what we all say. It's always the quiet ones, I'm telling you.
What,
there'll be someone out there that knows a dirty secret about him. That's why he doesn't drink anymore. Did you snap one night? We out on a night like that, someone grabbed your bird's arse and you're like, full on like judo, chopped him in the mush, and he just went, that's the last time I'm drinking vodka neat, and he's just been teetotal ever since.
Smiling assassin there. He could crack at any second.
That's it. This has been like a feng shui training exercise. We're going to put you with that irritable fat lumberjack Dominic, and we're just going to see if you have another episode. You've got that murderous glint in your eye, actually.
It's so very calm.
No wonder you started a podcast. No wonder you're a little bit. Go on. It's going to snap any moment, isn't he?
I'll get the exclusive.
Go on, let's see you turn this round. Go on.
I was just thinking, I was wanting to go on the Ducati thing.
I'm sick of this shite. Let's move on. There you are.
No, I've just sort of noticed of late.
I think you beat me up, to be fair, actually.
That the Ducati Tri-Options is the place to go. And it seems to be the big bike winners in the clubs are now going up to Tri-Options.
Could be a good field next year, isn't
then
it?
You've got the likes of Elliot Pinson chose that route to go. I know I bang on and on about Elliot Pinson all the time, and I always will, because I just think he's class, to be quite honest.
Dom's tough question.
He went that way.
Is there an age limit for Ducati?
Minimum or maximum?
Minimum.
There will be a minimum.
There'll be a minimum, but I don't think there's a maximum, is there?
No, doesn't need to be, does it?
There'll be
There will be a maximum,
16 or 17 as a minimum. It'll be to do with your ACU licenses, but I think 16 or 17.
I'm just thinking, lads like, that's terrible. I've forgotten everyone's name at tonight.
Joe Howard, you see.
Joe Howard.
I get struck with this because last year's Super Teen winner was Joe Talbot, and I get them mixed up all the time, but that's Howard.
So would that be like the next advisable move to make a career? Because in this, I did just read he wants to make a career out of it. So what would you think? Say you were a manager, the pair of you, at the moment.
You'd put them in a junior super sport. It depends how old they are as well. And I think, but I think
17.
I can't remember. Maybe 16.
16, yeah. 16. Great story. Seriously, read it though. Please get UK Club Sports.
I keep saying, I can't remember because I interviewed him and Katie Hand within 2 days, and Katie was 15. So it just, you think you're interviewing minors, so you've got to be polite.
In terms of the next step, though, I would say junior super sport. You're at BSB. It's competitive. There's like 30, 40 on the grid. Relatively cost effective.
I think one of the big things that a lot of them need to learn, and we covered this last year in the magazine, is the jump from clubs to BSB. It's not just the difference in level, it's the difference in the paddock, it's the difference in everything. You've gone from being in the clubs to having a bit play around, sitting next to your mate, and suddenly you can't do that in BSB. It's a professional paddock. You've got a lot to learn when you go up to that paddock.
You're not there to mess about, are you?
I think your first year in there, you're learning every single time. You're learning about signing, you're learning about screws, you're learning everything you've got to sort of relearn. And somewhere like Junior Supersport, where everyone's in the same boat pretty much, or a lot of them are. But I think then you see these Junior Supersport kids, is where do they go from there? And we could spend hours discussing that, because I do have a great issue with taking a kid off what used to be a 300 and sticking them straight on a 600 into super stock or super sport.
But
that's my opinion.
You would happily see someone go from a 125 to a 600.
Yeah.
But I know, which is a lighter. Yeah. I know it's probably faster, but it is lighter. But I guess at some stage,
it's a different sport at the end of the day. I look at them as very different beasts, junior super sports to the.
But see, a 600 to a 1,000 is not really considered a jump anymore.
No,
it's almost like the natural, like. All right, is that in your opinion down to style?
As long as I've been covering bikes, you've either gone from super sport straight up to a super bike or a stock 1,000.
There is no middle gap.
There isn't.
To be fair, I think we've got it better than in Europe, because in like the World Superbike paddock, they go from junior super sport to super sport 600, which is like racing against the very top 600 riders in the world. So at least we've got stock 600 as a middle jump, which kind of works nice. They don't have that luxury, and it is a huge step to go from a 300 up to super sport, World Super Sport. That's crazy, really.
So how would you how do you view the sort of tri options? Because you went for triples. I can see Dom's. You went for the Triumph triples, which was for you. It was the perfect time, wasn't it?
That was the tri options of then. Was that not fair to say?
Yeah.
You see, that was going to be my point. It's a bit like, if he doesn't have the money, it's got to be more expensive to run stock 600. You're talking engine rebuilds, everything. There's less rounds at tri options, but it is an all round cheaper option, isn't it?
There's more track time in tri options, I imagine, than stock 6, because that's the problem with stock 6 is there's so little track time.
Right.
I would say similar, but
it's similar if you're coming up, if you know what I mean. It's the same track time if you run 1,000 and you've been on 1,000.
There's nearly always been one make series. So for like, we had Rob Mack on, he ran the R6 Cup, and then R6 Cup. Tony Scott then ran the Triumphs. Can you remember Harley Davidson?
I was just going to say, did I dream the Harley Davidson series with the sit up and beg bikes? Did I dream any of that? No, it did happen.
Danny Webb's brother used to race in that, and Jeremy McWilliams used to win it.
Candy crack, actually.
Yeah, it was great. And there's always been these one make series, and for me, I think they provide a perfect platform for people who like myself. I wasn't really from a racing family. It's not like my dad could come and knew all the tricks of like how to set up the bike and stuff. So the Triumphs meant that I was at BSB. It was very cheap for being racing at BSB. Very cheap, very cost effective, and you weren't really allowed to do anything to the bike. The engines were sealed, the suspension was sealed. It was very much a case of you did your gearing, and that was more. You could change the suspension ever so slightly, but nothing major. It was very controlled. There was no massive discrepancy in terms of the different bikes.
No.
if the tri-options covers that perfectly.
Didn't you have like 2 races as well most weekends as
Yeah,
well?
yeah.
Like, you got a decent amount of track time in
The
it.
Ducatis
More than you do now.
The Ducatis gets a lot more TV coverage than Stock 1000 this year. And for loads of people...
Do you reckon that's the McGuinness element? Not just him, but they had a few.
You never saw. I never saw John McGuinness all year on really on TV. It didn't.
That
when
was
I
the
was
biggest
watching
name in
it.
the class. Is that fair to say? Obviously,
Definitely.
yes, there's a champion that's like rock star. Well, he's an NBA now. Member of British.
But I was too busy watching Josh Day and Elliot Pinson, so I wasn't interested in what John McGuinness was doing.
Do we salute John McGuinness now, or do we curtsy? Or
We eat a sausage in his
For
honour.
John.
Excuse me.
Well, he likes sausage.
What did you just say?
We eat a sausage doesn't mean it like that.
Imagine bumping into John McGuinness and grabbing the nearest guy. I'm sorry, mate, but
Everybody
that's John.
from now on, when
this
you
is-
see John, eat a sausage. Yes.
Would he be
I was like,
to him and just
I
gone,
didn't mean it that. I watched that documentary where he was getting German sausages at the thing, but let's.
We'll have to get John...
That was a mint documentary.
Yeah,
that
that's what
Honda
was
TT
sausage.
legends
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
That was.
He was eating
You're
sausage.
trying to
to
dig
get
yourself up a sausage roll.
John
yes.
back on, won't we? Well, actually, I had you and John's son messaged us the other day, so I'm going to we'll try and get him on sometime.
I was
soon,
about to say
since
we'll
he's
be
got-
lucky because he's got his own
NBA.
thing. By the way, there'll be loads of reasons why John doesn't want to come back on the show, but one of them's maybe because he's got his own thing at the moment, hasn't he? He's charging £5 a ticket. Did we mention it?
Has he?
Mention it.
You mentioned it last time. Sorry, there you go. That's how little I know. But anyway, he's charging £5 per viewing online. He's like OnlyFans, John McGuinness. You know what I mean?
Sausage optional extras.
Tuesdays.
Sausage not included.
Tuesdays.
It was midday that. Well, because do you know we went to John's house to interview him last year?
You see a sausage collector.
Ah, vaguely.
Dom had to go on his speedway bike.
He had a go on his what?
Speedway bike.
You can't pick your team that there, yeah.
I heard speed and sausage and I've got Speedo. I was thinking he had to go on his Speedos.
Where's the toilet, John? Just sneak up into his room and
He's big into watching speedway, so he's got like a little sort of square. It's kind of like like a paddock. But
Yes, I remember.
It's a horse paddock, right? That's literally concrete based with wooden posts. Like, crack on with it. I was loving it.
He was mint on it.
I was loving it. I want to have a go at that.
But yeah, we'll try and. But yeah, it's
So
going back.
the try option seems to be the new place to go.
Well recovered.
you, Steve.
Why don't you do a round? You should try and
I
get in
would
and do a round.
love-
Was what I was
Around,
going to
can
say.
it- How much is a wild card? No, BSB's always got this wild card option, isn't it? I've done one.
Yeah,
When did-
the Triumphs used to do a
DC.
wild card option. I'm not sure.
DC, RC.
But did you not speak to Steve Plater and
Was
did
there a press bike at the try options?
Will have, yeah. Did he not sort of give you a round figure of?
No. Steve played like he roughly based it on around about. You had to get a dealer on board, but he was like, don't quote me on this, please. Like, he's on the website, they tell you absolutely everything. They give you the run costs and all that palaver. But I'm trying to remember what he said. I think it was like 25 or 30 grand. Now, when you think, I think
it's
that's a lot of money, but you keep the motorcycle.
Yeah.
I
At
think
the
it's
end of it.
25. I think it's about 10 rounds, and you keep the motorcycle, which
Yeah.
I presume the bike at the end of the season must be worth 10, 8, 9, 10
Nah,
grand.
you'll be lucky to get 6, 7, but
Really?
something like that.
It depends who's ridden
I'm
it.
thinking on eBay. Well, no, that's always the same, isn't it? You know what I mean? But when you think it's a very safe, like cheaper version of racing, and to be fair, when you think I remember it. Craig Neve, I remember the name. Craig
Craig
Neve,
Neve.
he was in it. He's
had a
Yes.
few
done a
podiums in it.
mint run this year, and you think another. He was in Stock 1000 and Ducati, wasn't he?
He's had a hell of a year.
He was a busy lad, wasn't he?
I think
Dragged them on. It's going to be hard.
why I
work.
kind of mentioned the Ducatis was when I remember them sort of starting. I remember looking out the media centre window one day, and it must have been Brands or Rolton. It was one of these places where you overlook the grid from the media room. And I said, this is the biggest reflection of motorcycling in the UK. This is a bunch of middle-aged men racing Ducatis. But and I didn't mean that in a bad way. It was like, because this are the sort of people that can afford motorbikes, are middle-aged men, doctors, dentists, architects, blah, blah, who can buy a Ducati. And these were the guys that were racing. But what I'm saying is now is you've got your 17 and 18-year-olds buying these Ducatis and coming up. So this
It's
has
gonna
gone
be- it
from
is gonna
being
be
a
good.
class,
Yep.
as I say, you got to try and beat Josh Day now, and you've got to try and, there's some fast lads. Since Joe Collier, I think, just flipped that for me.
Yes.
The year Joe Collier came in.
Spicing it up.
Joe's looking to
That
go back to
really
the
flipped
guys.
it round. And I know a lot of people, I'm not going to name names, from the clubs who said, if I'd known Collier was going to be there, I wouldn't have bothered, because suddenly we couldn't qualify anymore. And that was, to me, was the turning point for that championship. It went from being bit of a fat lads, in the greatest respect race for the guys, bit of money coming towards the end of the career. No, now this is where you've got Elliot Pinson. I think Liam Quayle is, if he can come over or what have you, he wants to do it. These are 16-year-old kid lads, buying these Ducatis, and it's like, okay, I like this. This is something new.
To be honest, something I would do.
I think it would be. I've always said it. I think it's perfect for you if you could get the sponsorship together.
Let's get Dom on the grid. We'll cover it in every edition of UK Club Sport.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
If someone can send us pictures, that would be grateful, because Dom never sends photographs.
I was about to say, thank God he cleared that up. It's another inside crack. She's having a stab at us here.
I think. Do you know?
I thought I'd get involved because you two were at it.
There you go.
There is people that have bikes and sort of run it as a sort of team thing, and maybe if anyone is listening that has a bike and is interested and maybe looking for a rider, then
if anybody would like to get in touch and get Dominic Ferguson on a bike,
you'll definitely have a good laugh.
I would not for sure. No, but that's the thing though.
Even just a wild card would do, but would like a season.
No, yeah, definitely. No, I would jump on that opportunity to go do that. I would, and the thing is, I wouldn't be going there just to. Well, it never is it? It's never is a laugh. You go there to try and... I want to learn to go fast on a motorcycle. It's simple as that.
We've talked about this before. When for you to push on, the sort of limited opportunities that you get racing is...
On a road.
A lot of the times on a road. And to have the opportunity to push on at BSB on circuits and be sort of bashing fair and having to go for getting podiums and stuff, which I'm sure you would as well. It would be perfect for you, I think. But I'll
lose 2 stone and I'm yours. Anyone listening to this who wants to have a crack at that, I'm 100% behind that.
Yeah.
Now, are you two boys? Are we going to see you two boys in a CB 500 race? Because I've got it on good authority that last time I was on here and I mentioned Josh Leaning, that he offered to sort you out with one for a race.
Did he?
He told me he did. And Josh Leaning, you don't say Josh Leaning's a liar. He said he'd messaged you after he'd heard this podcast and says if you want to do a race or something, he'll get you or something. Yeah. I want to see you on a CB 500 race.
I would love to do it.
Chrissy is not. For
Not
those
him.
who can't see the cameras, Chrissy's looking very, very annoyed at Dom here.
Yeah, no, I'm annoyed at myself if I missed that, to be fair. I'd love to. I'm sorry for a second. I'm going to have to go trolling through my message. I'm useless for that, that bloody Facebook thing.
Shame.
It is shame. No, I'm genuinely good about that because I would love to.
You are useless with messages. I thought it was just me, but now at least I know.
It's me, my chainsaw, my motorbikes. That's it. I guess I do need to get better at that. I really do.
But I think he was going to sort you out, maybe even for a race or something, or just get you.
Well, I'm very sorry. I'm still up for it. Unless he's
if I'm making this up, Josh, I'm very sorry, but I'm committed to you now.
Funny enough, I used to race against Josh's brother in Tribes. Will Leanan used to race. Just a quick one as well on the sort of club thing. Obviously, BSB was due to start in May, which hopefully it still will. But with all these new restrictions and stuff, are we looking at a possibility that the first sort of club races might be questionable? Or
it has to be. I mean, I did a little search today, which I'm just
also
now
the rider training and things and stuff that tends to happen pre-season.
Well, yes, I know. Like Bemsey always have their sort of mid-February Valentine's sort of time. They have their ACU instructors course.
Well, no limits have all done. I normally do the ACU coaching with my dad, so down at Three Sisters
That
Preston.
also happens around this. All of that's got to be axed now, so they've had to change that.
So No Limits have postponed all their European trips at the moment. Now I say all of them. I just know the early ones have been definitely done in
January and February, I think.
Now everybody I've spoken to pretty much in the last couple of months is going testing in Spain in February. Is that off?
That's off. I think that's all off. Yeah, Cartagena and stuff.
I think a lot of people. I think Lissy and I believe Katie Hand. They're all sort of we'll get on a bike in February out of Spain and what have you.
I guess a lot of it's just restrictions because if we're open up to the tiers, you can. Maybe flights might be difficult, but if you were going to drive down, I think
like you say, if it goes back to the tier system, but we are locked in till middle of February.
And I think a lot of track day companies have cancelled at least January, maybe February.
All the local stuff's been. You can't get a track day. I'm trying to get one with accountants and other people, and just trying to get that all sorted. And it's a bloody nightmare. Everything is chocker because everyone's just booking it, knowing they can lose it. But bear in mind, no one's got anything to particularly look forward to.
No.
And there's something you can book. And worst case scenario, No Limits would pretty damn certain get the credit or refund you. I don't know,
you do,
but
you get credit.
There you go, get credit. So that's something to look for. Psychologically, think I've got something to look forward to in the spring. People in the they've just gone mental.
No. I'm just checked here, and apparently I think Bemsey, Thundersport, No Limits were due to start in March. That was their initial calendars, and they all had...
Northeast.
Thundersport had a late February test, which isn't being cancelled, but it's going to be,
Is that
you know.
Donnan?
It will be, I imagine.
I think it'll be done.
NG have a test in late March at Pembury, but again, that's Wales. Pembury say everything's still going to go ahead, but we don't know.
But the circuits can't they? Because they've got a booking in the diary.
And I think
So why
British
just turn
Supermoto
things down?
starts testing in March as well, so all of that's kind of
first thing
hanging
that
in the
goes-
balance now, isn't
The
it?
first big road race, I presume, is usually the Northwest 200.
Cookstown, followed by Tamragee, national level.
When are those?
They are, this is going to go, end of April. So
So is Oliver's Mount traditionally before that?
now, I'd love to
It's
know, and I
April,
think
isn't it? But
we've talked about it on the show hundreds of times. I think I have. If not, I should have. The fact that for own reason, they clashed the first Oliver's Mount with Cookstown. Road racing is a struggling beast, in my opinion, because I'm very biased on the situation. It's the world's best sport, without a doubt. But why aren't people talking to each other? Because as a road racer, I would go on a ferry immediately after Oliver's Mount and go straight over to Cookstown for the following weekend. And you think, why not? But that's another thing. If you do go to Irish road racing, it's a following week. Then you're at Tamragee. It's like weekend. You get a week off, so you got prep bikes, fixed bikes, blah 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 blah. Then you're straight back on it, and you think that's how it should be done. But like you say, Chrissy, it's the first big meet, like the international level, is the Northwest, and that's before the. That's a force of habit.
I think that'll definitely be cancelled next year.
That's not gonna happen.
I really hope it isn't, but I'm virtually sure that'll be cancelled.
See, at the moment they haven't said anything. No news is good news, so I'm hoping it's still on.
Dom absolutely.
I'm
just
tearing
destroyed.
here. I know. I'm tearing up here.
Do you know what? I was hoping that
So
the
dramatic, Dominic, you're
Northwest would
tearing.
be
Soft shite.
rearranged to when the Ulster would be.
August. I thought it
But
was
they've-
always going to be August, wasn't it?
I think looking at the calendar, it would be impossible because they need to borrow the rector cells and everything from BSB, don't they? And I think it'll just be impossible.
Of course it is. Oh,
So-
God, there's something for the rumour mill. There you go.
So we'll have to see on that. Who's running the Northwest now?
Very good point. Mervyn White has stood down after years and years and years.
Like ever.
We have,
Since
hasn't he? Well, that's
forever.
it, Northwest. It's a well, like Mr. TT, Paul Phillips there. It's like Paul Phillips TT. Especially as far as us being involved in the industry. It's like Mervyn White Northwest, and then like Noel Johnson was Ulster Grand Prix, and you think
I really hope there's a statue to Murphy White. You're kind of like not having him there. It's going to be a bit weird when we come back.
in nice shoes, tight jeans, and a nice polo.
Need something.
He's retired now. He can't sack me. Saying that, Mervyn White's got a big part to do with Macau, so I might have just lost my Macau seat.
Really?
So you go, no. So he's like the English coordinator of it. So Mervyn's still very much involved in the loop. But saying
You've
that,
got all year to get him back on side.
well, I don't know if if he's packed in from the Northwest, he might have
Do you
packed
think
in
he's
from.
packed in from Macau if he can't be
Well, no.
asked to turn up to the Northwest?
Well, no,
He's
well, he's
going to
gonna
wander
turn
over to Macau and sit in quarantine
I tell you,
for...
I'm seeing him in a bloody nightclub in Macau. Last time, I'm like, what the fuck is Mervyn White doing here?
When have you-
You've just had taken something or drank
That's
something
it.
dodgy.
Am I in the anger in the basement again? What's going on?
Do you know? I've just mentioned Paul Phillips. When I had Paul on, he was saying how like normal life had been on the Isle of Man this year because they've been totally out of this whole lockdown thing.
Well,
Oh,
And
they
basically got rid of the virus, and then they were like no masks, no social distancing. They were basically secluded from this whole virus situation. Now it's just breaking news over the last few days that they're going into a circuit breaker.
A circuit breaker for
3 week
2 or 3
thing.
weeks or something.
I know how this has happened. Everyone's favourite Romeo, the jet ski
The
guy.
jet ski guy.
The jet ski guy. It's got to be him, hasn't it?
I think when the borders open, we need to have at least. If you don't get on your CB 500s, we need a set of jet skis. And you two.
Wait, didn't he plan?
From Heysham.
Didn't he plan it on like you say? That'll be
40 minutes.
40 minutes. I've got this. 40 minutes straight over. 4
Get the
hours
kettle
later.
on, pet. I'm on my way.
It's like that there, the Christian
It is. I
Eden
was just
story.
going to say it's like the Christian Eden
Christian,
story.
Christian Eden put a photo right back in the day, right, black and white photo for some reason. Like Christian Eden's still young enough to be in colour photos, not black and white.
Never
And
trust
there's-
anyone
there's-
who's good enough to
There's
do
him
that.
with his I'm presuming mother, because my God, Christian, I hope you are listening, but your mum's fit, straight up fit. That was like pretty dishy photo, that. No wonder he put it up there. Don't laugh, Chrissy. Be professional. Christian's listening. Yeah. But she's a stunner, mate. Outstanding.
How do we follow that then?
You can't, can you? Let's go back to jet ski guy.
Jet ski.
Do you know what my
me.
favourite bit of that story
Love
is?
you,
The
mate.
fact he'd worked it out. It was going to be like sort of 40 minutes, and then it ended up taking him about 4.5 hours. But my favourite thing about that whole story is because he wasn't. He wasn't accustomed to riding jet skis. He basically just
He
thought
couldn't swim, could he?
Scottish.
Am I right in thinking he couldn't
But you know,
swim?
Scottish.
Do you know the best?
The
The best bit about that, he'll have left sort of Liverpool area and he'll have headed in a certain direction, and then
did
after.
he leave from Liverpool, or did he? He must have gone from
I
Scotland.
thought he went
Harbour.
from Scotland.
Oh, did he?
Scotland's actually a lot closer than Liverpool.
Yeah, 'cause
a
it-
lot closer.
Well, anyway, and after about 3 hours, he'll have been out in the middle of the sea, wouldn't have been able to see anything, and he'll have just been thinking, shit, I'm heading to America. Imagine that.
He probably thought he'd got to America and he
I
just
tell you-
wrecked him at Ramsey.
He must have been a confident young man. Let's face it. You know what I mean? Is out? You would have looked like would have full on gone an innie, wouldn't it? When he
Yeah.
turned up at the girlfriend's house, that would have been a fresh old ride. That, my God, that would have been
He did.
fresh.
He was actually there a while as well. He didn't get.
He didn't get straight into jail, so he had time to.
He went nightclubbing and stuff.
Shut up, man.
Oh no, he was out and about.
Shut up, man.
And
Just
then-
going through ShopRite. Who the hell's a Scottish
Did
geezer?
someone, how did he end up
Shop
getting?
shite.
Shop
shites.
How did he end up getting done? Did someone grass him up, or did he
Someone
like
must have.
post on social media or something?
I don't know. I never got that far in the story. I was just fair play, mate.
Jet
This
ski
is
guy.
LOL made it.
I wonder if they're still together. We might have to get them on as a guest.
Please tell me they're still together.
the better be.
He would be. a
If
great
he's
guest.
gone all of that way and done all of that, and she says, "Nah, pet, not really bothered.
Grass seed.
I'm going out with Darren now, grassy."
Now imagine the follow up for. Do you know how that the whole island was living a normal life and sort of restricted from seeing loads of business would have been put on hold, all the families, and then this one from that one guy. Obviously, I presume he didn't have COVID and take it, but imagine if he did. So that whole island was cut off from the rest of the world, and then just for argument's sake, say this one guy brought COVID to the island and ended up putting loads of people in the hospital and stuff. It would have been. It was a real selfish thing. I know
Yeah.
it's a sort of a love story type thing, but it is a real stupid thing.
Oh, there's Mr. Rouse pouring water on it.
like a teacher.
Yeah.
Just
I mean, it
taking
is-
a
Yes,
foot-
the moral of the story, kids, is it's dangerous.
I take my hat off to him, and I do admire him in a funny sort of way, because I think it is quite
Do you reckon she was
courageous.
She was like in that Tinder circle, because if you go in a certain area, you were telling us on Tinder, like if you go in a certain area, I'm not on Tinder, so I don't know, do I?
I've heard.
You were telling us. Chrissy was just showing us.
Well, he
I
was.
remember-
He's got, honestly, I tell you
Years
what a
ago I
giggle. We were
said-
travelling up the road from Danny Webb's, and he goes, "Dom, there's me Tinder." I goes, "What do you want me to do?" I goes, just have a flick through to see what you think. And I'm just thinking, mate, you're going to wake up with loads of weird messages of loads of weird
Years and years ago, I said,
Hello,
I haven't
hello,
been
hello.
on Tinder yet. I'm too old, or I'm relationship, whatever. I haven't been on Tinder. And Chrissy's like, "Do you want to go on my Tinder?"
So all these, hold on. So is
This is years ago.
Is this your thing? Is it just handing out
Do you
your
want to
Tinder
go on
to your
my
mates?
Tinder, pet? Oh, pet.
You're such a lovely guy, aren't you? I know what I like, but what do you like? I'll help you out in a roundabout virtual way.
I don't know what I was expected to find on there.
I tell you who by far.
What was your point?
I tell you who by far has been the best at that. Handing my phone over, Dean from DC Race.
Oh God, that was serious. But he was actually writing, so he was getting replies back from the lasses. I was literally just going is it left and right. You go left for no, right for yes. Is it
Right, yes.
right? Yeah. So anyway,
So
flicking
he's
through-
like him pretending that he doesn't know. Is it right?
I don't have it. Honestly, I had one time at this.
Every time I
What a
see you,
shallow
you're sat on your
system.
phone doing this, swiping right, Dom.
That's because it's the Inland Revenue
He's on
getting
the
in
auto
touch.
trader. Look at bands, man. It's not Tinder.
I've seen you going.
It actually is right, that though, isn't it? How sad am I? I have a sad little life. There you go. Where were we?
Dean. Yeah, it was-
Dean from DC.
he was
Explain
he-
the situation.
he was-
This is brilliant.
He was because we were down at Stead and he was matching people and he was so he was pretending to be me and obviously I can't read them all out because they're a little, what not really what's the word, not
appropriate.
suitable for the
It's
podcast.
just not appropriate for this moment in
Yeah,
time.
but he was funny. Anyway, let's get on to our next topic.
Our next topic.
We've done jet ski guy. I just want to quickly mention the fact that we've been auctioning things off on eBay for Macmillan Cancer, and so the big thing was the helmet, which was we ended up raising about 1,500 quid, I think.
Yeah,
for that,
so Lundy handed that over, didn't he? Yeah.
And then we've been there was a few more things at Rutters Fair, and our most recent thing that we've had on Colchester Kawasaki donated a signed Valentino Rossi cap, but it was a real beautiful memorabilia thing in a domed glass frame, and that's just sold for £540. So thanks to everyone who bid on that.
Done.
And as a sort of grand total, it's getting up there, and we'll keep we've got a few more things in the pipeline, so we'll keep going until we hit like a nice round figure.
Well, remember, speaking
And
of
then
sugar
Dom will
tits,
vanish. Dom will vanish and suddenly appear with a GP2 motorbike.
That's how it's done. That is how it's done. But no, like sugar tits came up with a good idea. Instead of auctioning it off on eBay, I think we should do the raffle system.
Yes, a few
to try and get
Kathy Perry put a thing on as well, suggesting that. So
secretly seductive, Kathy Perry.
No, that's Tabby, man.
Oh, God, no, I'm just throwing that in.
It doesn't care. It's
no.
mysterious.
Mysterious. I think it's brilliant.
But there's a few people have actually asked about the raffle idea, and I think that's a
It is a
great
good idea. Get more people in, and hopefully you generate more money for the charity.
Definitely, yeah. And
here's a one. Young lads.
By the way,
going from bikes to sidecars. You never talk about sidecars, do you?
And now, to be fair, we try to get the Birches on, and
numerous times,
hundreds of times. Tim Neves is down the country. Conrad's always busy.
Have you had? What about Lee Crawford, our local lad? You've not had him on?
Where's Lee Crawford live?
Bishop Auckland, I think.
Shut up, man.
One of those areas. Lee, if you're listening, get on.
I'll get them on now. We're trying to get Kirk.
He's a good lad.
Kirkup's mint. I love Kirkup to bits, but he won't even pick up the phone to us. And that normally I'm used to that, but he doesn't pick up the phone to me this time because he thinks we're trying to get him on, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to get him on the show.
Right, well, what Lee Crawford, he has his Club Sport sticker on the bike, and he's also a local lad, and he's a good lad. But that just reminded me, because we were talking about the Isle of Man, and I'm like Harry, our columnist, he's obviously on the Isle of Man, and now he's facing this position. We mentioned William Quayle earlier. What are they going to do this year? A race? They're going to have Harry, for example. He's got to come off the Isle of Man and stay back in England for the summer if he wants to do a full season, because you kind of just keep going around Derby for they did that this year, and he came over and he did the burn up and stuff.
Logistically, it's really difficult, isn't it?
But he's also lost a year. Every single body there's lost a year racing everybody here in England as well, and so that's another thing. Just going back to the Isle of Man thing, really. Although we think they've got a great life, they can go out, they can go night clubbing. Night clubbing. But they can't race amongst us. Would you prefer that? Would you prefer to be out there night clubbing, but unable to race anywhere except Derby for the next year?
Racing.
I prefer to be over here.
I've had some wicked nights out, but
I stuck a thing on the Patreon page just asking for a few questions, so I'll just quickly read them out and we'll discuss. Andy Wellborn, I always like the crack you have with Zoe. What is the latest from the UK organisers, re the potential to keep the current calendars? With COVID-19 and the current lockdown, is it realistic to think we may be able to spectate for the early rounds? Has Dom heard anything about the CRMC? We've kind of covered the first bit. Have you heard anything from the CRMC, the classic?
They have a calendar out. I'm going to actually read that out. So you just
we haven't actually talked about spectators though, have we? Yeah. And this did come to mind yesterday. In fact, when the Elite Sports this and that, no, and I just thought, here we go again. This is us back to where we were last year.
My biggest, I really hope we'll just spectators from the first round and we'll just get cracking. Especially, do you know they've vaccinated over 1 million people already, and obviously they're starting with the elderly and the vulnerable. So that million takes a massive percentage of people over the age of 80 or 85. And I guess as long as if we can get everyone that's vulnerable and over say 60. If they want to have the vaccine, get the vulnerable people vaccinated. Do you know? I seen a stat the other day which I checked, and it is actually right that so this whole year, the full pandemic, how many people do you think have died directly of COVID under the age of 60 with no underlying health conditions?
Wasn't it 344 or something?
377.
I was close.
But yeah, it's less than 400 people. So if you're less than 60,
it's terrifying to think it's 370 odd people.
Yeah, and obviously for those people and for the families, it's tragic. Any death is tragic, but in the whole grand scheme of things,
How many more have died in car crashes?
Exactly. And this is the problem with, do you know, if you
I don't
ever...
know.
We are, aren't we? The tin hat gang. Yeah, I'm just going to sit here and look at Auto Trader.
No, but do you know what?
Get some grass seed on eBay.
The problem is, if you're having any sort of discussion about COVID, it's if you urge on the side of sort of not being too keen on the lockdowns and look at the other side of the argument, let's say, you know, people can, as soon as you say like, oh, so and so's auntie died of COVID or things, it's almost like you can't then, you know, but that's like, imagine if you had an argument. Let's just say somebody decided to stop driving cars, and people were arguing that people shouldn't be allowed to drive cars because every day innocent people die of
I've
driving
said this
cars.
from the start.
And if you suggest that you should drive, you don't care about innocent people dying, and it's like, whoa, no, you've got
How
to
far
have
do
a
you
balanced
take
risk.
it? How far?
Exactly. And if there's, in my opinion, if there's there's less than 400 people without underlying health conditions, it's a hard decision to say for all those millions and millions of people, all the millions of people at uni, all the millions of people with small businesses, to stop the whole lives and have a huge impact on the lives when them themselves on it pretty much at any risk. It's really, really difficult. So it's one of those where I really hope by the time March comes around and May that the doors are back open for people to get back to spectating. Spectating at British tracks is the most COVID secure thing. The acres and acres of land. You get to Brands Hatch, it's like a 2.5 mile circuit. Get out in the forest by yourself with a picnic, and you're sorted for the day. It's brilliant. It gets people out of the house, and I sort of understand, you know, if you were all packed into a stadium and you're on top of each other, you could see that it could be very easily spread. But motorbike racing is...
What would you say is the most crowded track for spectators?
Knockhill.
Knockhill,
Because
Knockhill.
it's a sub-minute lap, isn't it? So
The biggest crowds you'll ever see generally now at BSB is last round of Brands Hatch on a good year when it's two people that people like.
I meant infrastructure-wise, so that makes perfect sense.
But what
So
I mean by
Knockhill
that
really-
is that's where I've seen the crowds packed the most. You know, from the
Yes.
media centre, you look out that last round of Brands Hatch, and it's just wall to wall people.
Yeah.
You know,
My sort of
if
biggest...
people thought if that was either space out a bit and have less people or no people, you're going to go space out and have less because
My biggest worry for this year coming forward is this idea that we're going to have like a COVID passport.
Because none of us, I mean, I'm a lot older than you guys, but I'm still, it's going to be 2022 before I'm offered one, I imagine, a vaccine.
Yeah.
Does that mean none of us can go anywhere?
Without a COVID passport? That's what
Are we going to get stopped at Watford Gap or what have you? And where are you? I mean, you know, you read these scare stories on the news, you know, the police are stopping people saying, where have you been? Like tonight I came out, I was like,
podcasting.
better just check me. I know my MOT's due. Just better check my MOT hasn't run out, just in case I get stopped on the way home in the snow. With Dom having smashed my car up somewhere.
In some
aerodynamic enforcement.
In some ways, like what we were talking about before, about the fact, like for like sort of less than 10 grand, you can buy a bike that competitive. In some ways, the world is such an amazing place. Like, for example, at the moment, if you want to buy like anything, you can just take your phone out, press a couple of buttons, and within minutes purchase it, and the next morning it's at your door, and you just think
sometimes
what
it's even
amazing...
there that afternoon because we've got the Team Valley and there's a big Amazon place comes up from the Team Valley.
You just think
within 3 hours.
What an amazing place, what an amazing world to live in. Like the fact that, you know, if like even somebody on, you know, you could be on minimum wage and you wanted like I don't know, like a nice salmon for food, and you can just pop down and get the most delicious, and it's like a couple of quid, and we do live, in some respects, we live in such an amazing time.
Well, when I was a kid,
however,
I couldn't listen to whatever song I wanted at this point in time.
Yeah.
I'd have to go and say, right, have I got that album at home? Yeah, I'd go home, see if I put it on. It's going to work. Now it's like, what song do you want? Da-da, and it's there.
In terms of or if you want to go somewhere, there's loads of ways you can train things. You can fly. You know, it would do live in an amazing thing. You can listen to pretty much whatever you want. You can watch whatever you want. it would, in some ways it's great, but in some ways I'm so scared about the future and like where we're sort of going as
It's
a
not
society.
a nice world at the moment.
And obviously
Without getting political and all of that, and then all of this stuff that's kicking off over the pond and stuff. I've never known a world so full of hate and divisive and you're wrong, and it's like
we live in such a device.
Well,
we need a bit of
be fair,
imagine here or something.
Motorbike racing to cheer everyone
At
on.
least that's one thing that we've all got. That
But we're all sorted though, where they're handing out all these things, these titles at the moment, MBEs and knighthoods for Lewis Hamilton and stuff like that. So really, they're putting the balance back into things. But anyway, back to that question. Just handing out freebies to cheer everyone up.
I've just thought of something.
I'm joking with you, for God's sake.
Did I hear on the rumour bill, that you were wanting to be a pilot?
Oh yes.
What was that all about?
Imagine Chrissy
Ralph's
the
wanted
pilot.
to be a pilot.
No, years ago when I was like just sort of leaving school, it was one of the sort of jobs that I've always thought would be cool. And I did actually go for like a training thing
Captain Rouse.
and looked at getting your private pilot's license. No, sorry, not private pilot's license. I looked at becoming like a commercial airline pilot, and there was this course. That you basically it was very expensive, but then you can get a loan for it, and you can I don't want to bore everyone, but you could I just thought it'd be a cool job, but I'm so pleased I didn't, because right now obviously nobody saw this coming.
No.
But if you were just qualified as a pilot, it's like you've got all these hundreds of amazing pilots that are really qualified that have been laid off.
One of my mates is when you come to think about
You've
one of the lads who used to go to school with.
for example, if you just invested like $100 grand to train to be a pilot, it's not a great time. So I'm glad I didn't go down that route anyway.
What would you have been? Oh, I've just taken over now. What if you hadn't been a tree chopper?
I thought don't know. I was just stupid enough to just get out of school, put a chainsaw in my hand and go there. It was that and race bikes, and I better stick with the trees.
Did you ever think about anything else? Or?
Did you ever think about being a pilot, dentist?
You're here for your filling.
I'm just picturing Chrissy as a pilot, because have you ever spoke with him on speakerphone when he's driving his van? Can you imagine him? This is, yeah, it's your pilot. Hang on a second. Yeah, can you hear us now? I've got a new plane. I can't hear you.
All right, Shaggy.
It's a Chrissy Rouse.
Him and Piggy flying up him on his yellow pages.
He'd have pink wings, wouldn't he, on his plane?
Imagine Piggy just giggling on his seat. Where are we going today, boo boo? Yogi Bear.
Oh God. I'm glad I didn't go down that route. The second
Piggy might have.
got another. No, so did you get the classics?
Yeah, I was doing that. Yeah. So what? Sorry, we're talking about Yogi Bear. So 17th of April. 17th and 18th of April is Castle Coombe for
That's
the CRMC.
not bad, though. That's a nice late start, really.
And then 8th and 9th of May is Mallory Park. 12th and the 13th is Pembury. And then the 3rd and 4th of July is Cadwell. 31st to the 1st of August is Donington Park, followed by the 4th and 5th of September for Anglesey, and the final round, the 2nd and 3rd of October at Croft.
Are you going to be racing classic
Your
bikes
last
next year?
round?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Last round at Croft. Get in.
I'd love to. I can't wait to go back to Croft. I really
I've
hope
missed
that,
Croft.
like
I have missed Croft.
Well, I've just signed up with my ACU because you've got to get your affiliation ticket now to join. So do you do us through the BSB then?
Yeah.
Right. So my affiliation code goes to the local club, the North East Club, to keep them afloat. Which is
that a dig?
I really hope.
Is that a dig?
Was really. I actually. I should have thought that one through.
You don't pay for the BSB one.
No.
I did used to join, like, say, Thundersport or Bempsey or a club.
I'm trying to keep the community going. The North East a bit of height.
I did used to join a club just to get an affiliation code, but then I found out you don't actually have to. If you race a BSB, you just you can get it from them.
That tri-options ride's looking ever more...
Save yourself 20 quid.
Have you ever met? I would not want to slap off Donna Davison. I'm gonna hand her membership money for the rest of my days.
Stu will just give you a massive squeeze as well and breathe the life out of you. That's the...
Well, they'll be out. Like I just say, they released a timetable. Now, don't ask me about that. That is the same time. I know the first round is definitely at Croft. That's what they've asked for, and the dates for that I've got here. It's the first round with Thundersport.
It's usually about April the 5th or something.
No, that'll be the 26th and 28th of. Sorry, it'll be the 27th and 28th of March. for Croft.
And
then the 2 rounds after that.
If we
East
lose that
Fortune.
round at Croft, I'm going to be really...
No, but you see, it's always been that is the first round that always keeps the club afloat massively, because they have the scooter racing there, the sidecar lads all turn up, and like you say, everyone's had itchy feet, and it's one of the
and it's that first day back, and we're all like,
it's mental.
That's where
I've always gone as a family. We've always gone, and for me, it's like that was racing for me, and it still is.
That's where
I always want to do my first round.
the best trophy in British racing gets won
It's
there.
the heaviest, the actual heaviest. Is it in world or Britain?
Oh, I don't know
I
about
have no
that.
idea. No, but anyway, it comes in a flight case. It's huge. It's this Goose, the Ken Redford Trophy.
Ken
And
Redford.
it's for the orbit. It's ridiculously
Do
big.
you know how much that's insured for? How much do you reckon?
Don't know. I'm no good with
can't
numbers.
What is it?
I hope I'm not talking bullshit here, but
No, it'd be
I
worth
heard
a fortune.
it's insured for 40 grand or 45 grand.
Something like
That'd be
that.
about right.
But you see, like
It's
John
historic
McGuinness's
trophy.
name's on there, Hislop's name's on there. It's like a seriously big, like Barry Teasdale, him and Andrew Tasker used to battle it out.
Didn't Dennis win it a load of times as well, Hobbsy?
Yeah, no, they got their names on that list are huge. That is definitely a trophy I've always wanted. Like when James Cowan always won the Lade of Croft, which is the 600 title.
Yeah.
But no, the big bike, the open race, he could enter on a 600. James has done a couple of runner-ups on that, but I would love to.
He almost beat Barry in 2018, I
That was
think.
unreal,
Was it
that.
2018?
It was-
17? Do you know, it's all started going.
honestly,
That last one he did, it was like...
starting to come in damp. It
Jesus
was me,
Christ.
James, and Barry, all three of us just going boom, boom, boom. It was incredible. Incredible.
How we're doing for battery life?
I have no idea.
Gonna check. We'll check how we're doing. I have actually just bought some leads, but we're waiting for them to be delivered.
23 minutes.
Oh, that's good.
Well, let's round it up, kids.
Round it up because I'm a
20
bit
odd on that
worried
as
about
well.
how deep that snow's gotten out there, like.
like it
We'll
deep?
be sound. We'll be sound.
Well,
right,
you
next
will.
She likes it deep.
20 odd.
Guinness's sausage. MBE sausage.
20 odd on that one. Yep. Our next question, Mark Prescott, and I'm not sure if she covers this, but I would be interested to know how to get the kids into track racing. What's the easiest way to go about it?
Don't do it.
Difficult question. For track racing, in terms of if you're above the age of 12, you would have to say something like super teens, or the production, the lowest class production racing. If you're younger than that, maybe the
bikes.
Ovalis or the pit bike racing. That would be.
I'm not so
It's-
sure
see-
about the Ovalis. I don't
think they're
get that
brilliant.
as it's not a training ground for kids. It's
Why not?
It's for
Why
people
not?
with a bit of money to waste. Charlie
That's
Farrell.
racing.
I thought you were going to say that's racist.
That's racist.
Do you not think the Ovali Cup for all the kids is good? I don't really know much about it, but I think it's a great concept.
Nothing's come through yet. They're
Charlie
too young. It's the
Farrell-
first year it's come across.
Charlie Farrell described it to me, and he says they're toy bikes, they're play bikes, and I agree.
Has Charlie Farrell ridden an Ovali?
No, but I agree. I don't think you're gonna. I'm not saying they're crap
no,
or
no,
anything,
well,
but I wouldn't.
I'm really
there's other
interested in
mini
you-
bikes.
you-
I would be getting something with Fab Racing, to be honest, before I went. I think the Avalis is a bit of a waste of money. It's for if you've got a lot of money and you want to have the best fun you're going to have, get an Avali.
Do you not think the Ovali? Do the Ovalis not
see-
race at Fab Racing and the Brit?
No, they do the same. It's the exact same principle. You know what I mean? It's a competitive race series, and like we've seen with the R6 Cup, we've seen with the Triumph Triple Challenge. Talent, who said that was Oliver's Mount. Give me a rock star's name, Chrissy. We've interviewed him.
What?
Lee Johnson.
No.
What about?
The organizer. Anyway, so his point throughout his whole race career running and like Mick Grant, thank you very much. And his theory and what he believed in that was his terminology, the cream comes to the top. Now the Ovali system with Peter Hickman, and what I think's interesting
I think the
about
Peter Hickman angle's a great
exactly
angle.
because they've got a rock star lifting up the platform. But like we say,
Kids racing doesn't need a rock star. Kids need to
it
get on
doesn't.
bikes, race each other, and sort
I
it
totally
out
agree,
that way.
but the thing is, you've got the rock star like Hickman wanting people, and the parents and everything like that going up. I would like to be a part of this, but when you put a bunch of fast lads and they're trying to beat each other, it's
The thing about it is, it might look like, for example, when I did
it's
Metric,
expensive. It is expensive.
It's like the new Chab stamp to me, or the Oval.
I bought a Metro Kit.
mental.
Chab stamp.
Sorry, my dad bought a Metro Kit when I started, and it was 1,600 quid, a second-hand one, but it was decent. The Ovalis are around the brand new.
Over
I think
£5,000.
they're about 5.5, 6 grand. However, the sale price of them, they seem to hold the value.
Well, if they're holding their value, I just don't know whether you're going to get the talent necessarily on them. if you've got a kid and you can only afford £1,700 for a Metro kit or whatever, you put them on there.
But when you're
The
talking
rich
about...
kids are not necessarily the talented kids at that. I don't know. I mean, I'm
But
not.
that's like the same with go-karting at any
Well, it
levels.
is,
No,
yes.
that's the thing, isn't it? If people afford what they can afford now as a parent, let's be honest, if I was a parent, the first thing I'd probably put my kid in is a go-kart. I'm the biggest bike fan on the face of the planet. But as a parent, you're probably going, I tell you what, let's try. If you had money, we're talking in a theory now that money's not a problem. You know, that's the thing. Like you say,
Buy an Ovali, obviously, for a Saturday afternoon. But
exactly, that's the thing. But what would be interesting to see is what comes from the Ovali Cups.
it will be interesting
Because
to see.
that is such a new concept. Let's see how
don't
many
think-
talents actually come through on that. It'd be
I
dead
don't think
interesting.
yet. I don't think if you've got a kid now that wants to start racing in March or whatever, I wouldn't say go and buy an Ovali to do it. Get them a Metro kit, get them something else. Just see if they're any good first.
Do you know,
to see if they're,
I'm a little bit out of it, so I don't really want to
you
comment.
don't
on it
want to
'cause
be
I don't
dropping
really
these
know.
Ovalis and wasting money and like not wasting money, but I don't know. I don't look yet. They haven't established themselves yet.
You're much more into that sort of
That's it.
scene. What would you say is the best, like the sort of best cost efficient way of? Say you've got an 8-year-old kid. What would if you've got an
See,
8-year-old kid? What would you send them on?
It's such a difficult thing. It's a money concept. I totally agree with you. If you're not particularly sure, yes, buy them a treater bike to see if they like it and everything like that. But if I had money, I'd probably, I can say, let's see what he's like. Right, Min, I would go get him an Ovali in a heartbeat. Now, if there was something better than the Ovalis at the moment, I would tell him to get on that. And if there was something better than that, I would tell him to get on that. The thing is, those little bikes are they are brilliant. They are well built, Italian, Japanese motors, not Chinese motor. And the thing is, they are so well engineered. You know, even the brake calipers, and when you work on it, it is a miniature GP bike, and you think that's where the money's gone into them. And
I just don't see them as.
Do you know how you answered?
they are fast as
You answered that question from the point of if you had money, you would do Ovalis. If you didn't have money, what would you do?
Wait, it's what you could afford. The Fab.
Right.
That's the thing. It's about.
I don't even know what's on it, Fab.
Oh
now.
no! You see that?
What is it?
Thing is, I've really almost put that in the way of if you can afford an Ovali, get an Ovali.
Right.
That's you know, they are a bespoke bit of kit, but because I haven't been on the scene, it's such. But it is all. It always comes down to money. If I can afford to be in BSB, I would be in BSB. The first thing I would have done is said, I've got money. I'm going to BSB. I want to I do not want to cut trees. I want to race motorcycles and be as fast as him. And the only way you're going to do that is by going out with the faster lads
here's
and
a
being
great-
at the top class.
here's a great
and not
question.
paying a membership.
Say if someone came and said, I've got $100,000 to spend on racing this year on like short circuit racing, Dom, but you've got to spend it all on the racing. Would you do the Ducati Cup, the Stock 1000, Super Sport, or a GP2? It's your choice. You can do any of them.
Give me them options again.
I'll add in club racing, so like do loads of like Thundersport and MRO and stuff. Stock 1000 at BSB,
MRO.
Ducati Cup,
$100,000.
yeah, Ducati Cup, Super Sport, or GP2.
With the situation, like
Right
right
now.
now,
You've got
someone gave me
£100,000.
$100,000.
You've got to spend it on the racing and nothing else. But we need your decision now, or you're not getting it.
I'll tell.
I would do Thundersport. I would do not Thundersport. I would do 100. Is he $100,000 crash damage or something like that? Yep. BSB. I'd get my arse handed to us, but I'd be at the back of the top class.
What, Stock Thou?
Yeah, stock 1000. Without a doubt, if someone said there's $100,000, they're going to get the $100,000's worth out of it. Yes, I wouldn't be. If that's the truth, I wouldn't be top 10. You know what I mean? But I would. You're better off learning at the back of the top class than you are being at the middle of that.
Yeah.
But like you say, if $100,000, if you've got who's got $100,000, if you don't have the $100,000, you'd without a doubt go to Thundersport, wouldn't you?
Yeah, fair enough.
Anything below that, anything below the $100,000, you go to Thundersport because you would just be as quick. Because the times are like very, very, very.
But in answer
very
to the
tight.
question, I think, have a look at these mini bikes. There's so many out there now. The options for kids coming up from that mini bikes is, if you look at 10 years ago, people were saying, there's people riding mini motors. It was people like, oh God, what's his name?
Right.
The Scottish guy, Stock 1000.
Lewis
Rollo, yeah. His generation was the first generation I really remember sort of riding the mini bikes seriously. Before that, it was just a bit of a
Bradley Ray and Kyle Ride when I first started. Them two and Pob, Josh Daly. Them sort of. It was mainly, to be fair, it was mainly Kyle and Brad like sort of killing each other on the mini bikes and on the Metro kits.
And now it's just there's so much of it. It's there. There's it's everywhere.
I would say the best bit of advice would be what you've just said. Go to a couple of the events and you'll find something that suits your budget and suits your sort of style and whatever. So yeah, that's a good answer.
Yeah, you might just want to go and do Moped Mayhem.
And then finally, we've got Mark Reynolds. Mark has said, if we have another restricted year this year with very few races to cover, will it bring about a change in the content of the magazine, apart from the racing, of course? And please thank her for producing a great magazine month after month too. I always look forward to it landing on the doormat.
Oh, I love you, Mark.
No, if you met him, you would.
He is a top. He's proper sound like.
And there's Dom pouring
bit of brown on there,
it.
son. Bit of brown on there. Bit of brown on there. I know who you are, Mark.
It might. I think this year we somehow managed to keep it going. I keep saying this year because I'm still in 2020 mode. We managed to keep it going. There's usually enough stories, but they will run out eventually. The worst scenario is that we keep it running 2 monthly, which I quite like.
Yeah.
We just need to sort of see what people think.
It's a good idea. I think at the moment it's a really good idea.
On a normal year, it would be difficult when you've got race weekend after, just to sort of keep up with what's going on.
Like MCN bike shows and stuff like that. You've got loads of little intricate things around it. But at the moment, I think what you're doing's right.
And if people are listening who read it or in racing in clubs, do come to us if you've got a story, because I still think that everyone's got a story. To me, like this, the Joe Howard story mightn't have even registered that as being a newsworthy article, and yet you have both looked at it and went, "Oh wow, that's incredible." Yeah, I think everybody has their own story to tell in some way or other, and do get in touch if you want to. If you want to write about you, if you've got something interesting, or even if it's not interesting,
I'll
get in touch with us. We're here. We want the Paddock Life section.
What email should people get you at?
I think, is it just news@ukclubsport.com or zoe@ukclubsport.com?
I'll check social media.
I'll stick that in
social media is useless because we get so frustrated with social media that you just don't answer it. Yeah,
but I have a link to get in touch with.
What I mean by that is you get so many messages, it's just sometimes hard to manage them all. Right. So I'd rather you emailed us or get in touch. But we are here to write about everyone.
Yeah, so. I'll stick the link in our YouTube.
Link in bio.
In the bio, yeah. And,
he's off again. Has he got?
No, I'm checking cameras again. I'm checking cameras.
Checking camera about how we're doing, Dom.
14 minutes.
14. That'll be fine.
Wait, yeah.
Just a quick one. This time last year we were talking about sort of tips for this year ahead, and I remember one of your people to keep an eye on and to follow was Luke Hopkins.
Yeah.
Now, in all honesty, I think Luke
didn't happen, did it?
Very disappointing year for Luke this year.
I hate to say that, but
I've come up with a new.
Luke had a change of flavour mid-season and all sorts, didn't he?
He went to Honda later on.
He dropped from Kawasaki to Honda and everything like that. A lot of movement from the lad.
And I'm going to say Ash Barnes for this year, by the way, and I'm going to get this out there early for Ash Barnes for the Junior Super Sport title.
Yeah, he's a good lad.
Saying that now.
Do you know Ash's dad is Phil Crow's brother? So it's
is he?
Yeah. So
oh my Lord above! I never knew that.
Yeah. So
it's come from Stockton.
It's Uncle Phil for Ash, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
I had no clue.
Imagine having Ash your uncle is Phil. You're going to be fast. You are going to be fast.
See, you living then?
Ash had a huge crash at Alton Park last year. Did you see it when he went over the front? Oh God, that was horrendous. But
talented kid.
Yeah, going back to Luke Hopkins, he always looks great on the bike. I see pictures, I see videos, see him on track. He does everything. He does everything right. But in Superstock this year, he finished in the points the first meeting, and then he failed to finish in the points for the rest of the year.
I haven't spoken to them or anything.
Overriding.
I don't know. I mean.
No, that can happen.
I have no words.
We've said it before. Yeah.
I have no words.
But you know what I mean? The lad is so fast. He can ride a bike, he can handle a bike, he can put it in awful
Any lad
positions.
That can beat Phil Crow and John Ingram around Cadwell Park or somewhere like that isn't a slouch.
We should get him on the show.
He just didn't progress the way we were expecting. I was certainly expecting him to be more competitive this year.
Who did I say the year before? Because I was totally right, wasn't I?
Scott Ogden.
Scott Ogden. That was. I'll dine out on Scott Ogden for the next 3 years, I think.
Are you rescuing yourself?
I'm glad you were giggling.
Not the choice of words I should have used.
What did you say? I missed it.
Doesn't matter.
There's my number.
What did you say? sung about.
You are not editing this out. Stop laughing. There. By the way, you're fully forgiven because this is just funny now. So you'll know.
I'm going red now.
It's only you that made it rude, and I'm proud of you, Zoe. You know what I mean? So basically, yeah.
I wish I'd stayed home.
No, the best thing is though, he's going to rewind this later on, like a couple of hours later, and then go, I can exactly see what they're talking about. There you go.
Do you know what? Last time I said,
anyone else you're eyeing up in the paddock?
Last time I tipped him as successful, I got messages saying, "Oh, thanks for that. I hope he's not listening today. I hope his parents aren't listening today." After that was terrible.
So he's just signed for the Aspar team, pretty much the best team in Junior World Championship. So I think he'll.
Who's going to be the next Scott Ogden? And this is the interesting thought now because we don't really. Do you know Eddie O'Shea could be? I don't know whether you watched him at all last year in British Talent Cup.
We didn't, to be honest.
You know, he's the one he's the name that's come out of it, and he's just keep an eye on Eddie O'Shea. He's a good one.
Where's Ewan McClinchky going? That's a stop.
Ewan and McGlinchey. And there's
him,
another
Irish
one that's
fast, very very fast. But what's he's stepped into BSB thing that. Mm-hmm. But like what? That's terrible.
He's not working with Glenn anymore, is he? I don't.
Who's working with Glenn? Glenn Ewan.
Yeah, he was in one of his. Not working. I think was it. Glenn sort of teams or mentoring or
I think Glenn helps a lot of the young lads, doesn't he? He's
but I'm sure they're not
a bit of a mentor for them.
working together anymore. I could be wrong, and I don't want to fight with Glenn. So hey, you know.
No, but anyway,
don't want any bother.
But I know, like Ewan's gone. He's. I'm trying to think what class it. That's super sport. He's moved class anyway. I definitely know he's moved class.
He was one. He was an example of one of Johnny Towers. What we're saying earlier about if Johnny Towers. Johnny Towers was
at the Sunflower. He was beating around them. Oh, yeah, Jeremy McWilliams. There's a lad I'd love to get on the show. Now, Jeremy McWilliams went massively up my estimation because I always thought he was fast. Now. I haven't followed his career whatsoever, but I'm one of my really good friends and is like, black as black with him. You know what I mean? He says it off the cuff straight away. But he said about Jeremy McWilliams, he said he was far from a naturally talented rider. But he worked his fucking arse off. They were his words. And he just said he worked at it and worked at it and worked at it. Like one of the most unlazy people in the paddock. And he just went, I want to be fast. And he worked at it and worked at it and worked at it. And look what he achieved.
Yeah.
It was serious. So I know, and I really, really hope that's the case for that story. Because like I say, Roy doesn't sugarcoat his words whatsoever. It is how it is.
Little sort of hot shot that I want to call out for next year, and you covered in the magazine. Rhys Irwin moving to McCam's.
Yeah, he's always been a fast kid as well.
And I think for me, he was the. I know Ben Luxton won Stock 600, but Ben was doing Stock 600 when I was doing it back in years and years. And so although he was the best rider in it over the season, for me, Rhys was kind of the biggest sort of. He impressed me the most. That's the best way of putting
Rhys
it.
Has been sort of...
I'm really pleased that he's got the best ride in Super Sport for next year, and I really hope he challenges for the title. I'm sure he will. He was brilliant this year, and real nice kid as well.
I think this is very controversial, but we were kind of told for a long time that his brother was going to be the one, and Rhys has just kind of come out and. No offence, Keelan, but has really sort of outperformed Keelan. He's and just it's without even,
Yeah, but Keelan is still doing an amazing job. He was sort of winning races and battling for wins and stuff.
But I think Rhys has got something extra that I don't know if it's just that. I don't know. But, he's a nice lad as well.
Yeah,
and I met their mum at Aston a few years ago. What a class woman she was. I'd love to go out drinking with her.
Right.
She was sat with Alison Farrer and they were just sat next to at Aston just drinking for 3 or 4 days. She was brilliant fun.
Just a quick one before we finish. Have you had anyone else sort of refer to you as Zoe from the podcast? Because I remember last time I had a few.
I haven't, but I haven't really seen anybody.
Good on you. That's how you do it. Play it safe.
But I think as soon as I get out again and start seeing people
from the race.
I mean, that the funniest one was when I went to the. She was really sad when I think about it. We went to the Manx, the newcomers weekend in March last year. It was all exciting. There was talk there was some virus pilling around in Spain or something. We went to the newcomers weekend and just did a fly on the wall of what they do, and it was great. That sort of anticipation for the season ahead, and which didn't happen. But 3 people on that weekend came up to me and said, "Are you the girl that goes on the Chase of the Race podcast?" 3 different people.
Yeah, but if you think back then, we were getting hardly any downloads, and now I was just talking about it. Like the downloads have got massively on the upwards sort of thing. So yeah, hopefully when we get back to the paddocks and back to what we're doing, what we love.
See, everyone that's listening now is going to come up to me
Zoe
now
from the
and
podcast,
say,
yeah.
are you the girl? I didn't even know my name. I was just the girl.
Just to wrap things up, have we got anything of interest in the next week? Or are you just grafting and anything sort of bike racing?
Don't know about grafting.
Any bike racing sort of things to look forward to, or
no? I was going to do the British Mini Bike Winter Series.
So is that off
been,
as well?
That's been cancelled. Obviously with everything. So yeah, at the moment it's just
they didn't get the Teesside round in either, did
Never
they?
got the Teesside. Wilton Mill's been cancelled. So I think
what a shame, man.
to be fair, it's another lockdown, so it's nothing's going. Not even motocross. Only private hires are allowed.
I know it was just because Moped Mayhem went, and I was thinking
that was the day before it happened. That was the day before the lockdown. So it was like, right, fair enough.
What about yourself, Zoe? Over the next sort of few weeks, have you got anything?
I'll have to think of something. I've got my Washington bag to do. Then I'll have to do my task of ringing Dom and trying to get a column for the next edition of the magazine.
Let me know when that's in. I need to get my homework in for.
Be early February, so you got a few weeks yet.
Grand.
So you're going to have to go and do something.
No, text me a date. Bang it in my diary.
Yeah, but you never reply, so I never know if you've read it.
I get the date, but then I get my work. I'm on the case. Me and Bex there, we're on the case.
I know. Bex is the saint that keeps this.
I do all my work, but I just need someone to double check it so you don't destroy it.
For anybody, I often get people say to me, it must be hilarious doing DOMs. And like, do you know what? It's really well written.
Thank you.
It is. It's in good English. It's funny.
I think beginning, middle, and an end.
But I'm going to be honest with you. Ian Mackman blows you out the water because he's brilliant. For a mechanic and a rider, he can write and he's funny.
He wants to be a journalist though.
He should have been a journalist. He's brilliant.
I rang you going, I've got somebody here for you, really good,
Didn't
really
tell us who it was.
And then she rang me in and coached me. How about you do one? I'm trying to. I've got a job. I've got a this. I've got a dog.
I think a lot of people maybe think that you just ring Dom up and like get the quotes and write it yourself. Dom does actually write it.
It's all my bullshit.
I'll be honest. Let's be honest. I do one of those, but it's not Dom's.
Yeah.
I do Lissy's.
Yeah, Lissy talked about it.
Because Lissy's been busy. Harry as well. Harry does his own, and his is great as well.
There we are.
Like I say, and Macman. And then Aidan.
Macman's good. Aidan's brilliant.
But Macman's funny. He's so funny. Sometimes I think, I wish I wrote that. That's brilliant. About his table tennis playing Labrador or something in the last lockdown. It was just fantastic.
I'm going to make a note of that. Some sort of animal playing some sort of Monopoly.
Right, well, let's get things wrapped up. Yeah. Thanks so much for coming over in the
braving the harsh.
I think the thanks are going to have to come if I make it home. I don't even know if I'm going to get home tonight. To set this up, I'm up the top of a hill, right? I've got to get down the hill, through the valley and back up the hill. It's pretty much, I live almost opposite, really, if you drew a straight line. You've got to go the other way, haven't you?
And if she makes it, you're going to get a magazine through the post.
Yes. And if I don't... well, someone will find us in March when the snow's melted.
When it thaws.
Yeah.
There we go.
But, huge thanks to our patrons as usual, our sponsor, Colchester Kawasaki.
And, Colchester Kawasaki.
I've just thought, do you know, this with this whole lockdown thing, it's one... I'm every time I see somebody, I can tell that during the summer lockdown, people were getting a bit like sort of sick of being in the house.
We had suntans though, didn't we?
But the weather was okay and it wasn't that bad. I can notice a huge difference when I'm seeing people, and I think the lockdown during the winter, during these months, it's depressing anyway. These months, and people are really struggling. And I think you need something to sort of. You were saying like whether you've got a race coming up or whether most people like book a holiday and they've got that, but even that's things. What better to get yourself a motorcycle and get out and get some freedom on two wheels? It's by far for me. I don't know if it's
snowmobile.
I don't know if it's the same for other people, but for me, any sort of motorbike, if you get out, it's a freedom that you just don't get with anything else, and it's something.
Not the freedom.
You don't get with it all. Where's it going with this? It's freedom.
No, if you want to get something to look forward to, something to do maybe once a week, just to get you out of the house, buy yourself some sort of motorbike and get out.
When lockdown.
Get an O'Varley.
Head over Colchester
There you go, Peter. I've given you a plug.
website and new and used bikes. But yeah, I would thoroughly recommend it because it's just it is so good. I am biased because I race, but I love bikes. Anyway,
And I'm right about bikes.
exactly. Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll catch up with you next week. Thanks, Zoe.
See you later, Zoe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Click, buy, deliver with the 2-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester, Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasing the Racing.